Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Arrow episode 12 video. So much stuff happened. It was like Arrow 3 o'clock high, if you've ever seen that classic 80s movie. Big fight with the bully after school. We're still kind of in the middle of the Canary trilogy. That'll conclude next week with episode 13, aptly named Canaries. But Stephen Amell started a hashtag today called The Emerald Archer Rises. So I think that's what the next arc of the show is going to be. This last arc has told the story of the rise of the new Black Canary. The next arc might deal with Oliver's evolution as Green Arrow. So just careful for spoilers from the episode if you haven't seen it yet. Starting with top 5 moments. Number 5, Katana helps Oliver get back to Starling. As bummed as I was that Katana didn't come all the way back with him, that doesn't mean that we won't see her again. Nothing's confirmed or anything like that, but just don't count her out for the rest of the season. There were a bunch of characters we saw in this episode that were really small, but they were comic book characters. I'm crossing my fingers that they all come back. Katana being at the top of that list, because she is badass with a sword. I like the way Oliver talked about that too. Ra's al Ghul, he's pretty good with a sword. Good enough to jam one through your chest. Given what we saw in the episode, you know what that means now. He has the sword that was used to pierce him. He's going to have to learn how to use it now, and that's going to be Merlin that'll train him. I'm really hoping that Katana comes back to help him with his, Jedi sword training too. That's his lightsaber. I know Stephen Amell has his lightsaber Saturdays. That's as close as he's going to get to wielding a lightsaber, is that Ra's al Ghul sword. Make as many jokes about that as you want. Once he and Merlin start fighting with those swords, once they start training, that's all you're going to see on Tumblr, is just Stephen Amell lightsaber gifs. It's going to be hilarious. Just roll with it. Just roll with it. Visually, the scene of Oliver making his way back into the city, it was very Batman Begins-esque. The producers have always been really clear about the way they take cues from Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, so anytime you see a scene that seems like one of the Batman movies, one of Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, it's probably an intentional reference. Christian Bale's Batman comes back to Gotham, returns from the dead. Oliver comes back to Starling, returns from the dead. As much as Stephen Amell was hashtagging The Emerald Archer Rises, Batman Begins could have been the subtitle for the episode. I saw a lot of you guys tweeting at me about Dark Knight Rises, about the big battle royale between Batman and Bane. There was that in this episode, that big Glades battle, the big battle royale. It's actually taken from a Batman comic book called No Man's Land. I talked about it a little bit in last week's Arrow video. That's the basis for Dark Knight Rises. But if you want to go to the source, just call it Arrow No Man's Land. It's actually a really great comic, so if you haven't read it, you should check it out. Moving on to number 4. Team Merlin slowly merges with Team Arrow. As much as Diggle said no to Merlin, Oliver said yes. So we're getting like a backdoor merging of Merlin and Team Arrow. It's not like they're going to be buddy-buddy or anything like that. But even as far back as season 2, the minute Merlin came back, and we knew he was alive, he didn't die in season 1, I had wanted him to team up with Oliver, begrudgingly. There's no way Oliver's ever going to like him. There's too much bad blood. There's too much history between them. But the thing they have in common is Thea. They both love Thea, and they're all about protecting family. So Merlin is still going to be Merlin. Oliver's still going to be Oliver, but they will train together. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, temporarily. As much as Merlin isn't the villain right now, I do think he's going to do something really shady at the end of the season, like in the season finale. There's no way he's ever going to be white, shiny Knight Merlin. Right now, he's more of an anti-hero. I love the way Felicity came down on this too. She's like, hell no, not having it. This is bullcrap. When she said, I don't want to be someone you love, what she meant is she doesn't want Oliver to go down the same path as Merlin. It's just in doing so, like the Oliver that she knows would be gone. The Oliver that loved her would stop existing. So she would be a person he loved, as in past tense. Then you have to remember what Katana said earlier in the episode. In order to defeat Ra's al Ghul, Oliver has to be willing to give up or forget the thing that he loves most. On the surface, that seems like Felicity. I think it's a little more complicated than that. And this next arc is going to spell out what that is. So you can kind of see the structure of the back half of the season coming into scope. You have the Rise of the Canary over the, first 3 episodes of the back half. Then you have a block of episodes that's the Rise of the Emerald Archer, Oliver training montage. Then you have the finale, the grand finale, Oliver versus Ra's al Ghul. Moving on to number 3, Battle Royale in the Glades. So this was a lot of fun. It was a huge crowd scene, so just from a technical perspective, it was really amazing. Arrow has great stunts, so I knew it was going to be a lot of fun, and they kind of ruined it in all the promos. Like that zipline scene with Oliver zipping away at the end, that was in the promo last week. But we got to see Wildcat and Sin again. I don't know if they're coming back before the season finale. I'm hoping they do, but it's not confirmed. And Wildcat, the actor that plays Wildcat, has been cast on another series. When I saw him, I was actually really surprised, but I guess that he got cast on the other show after they filmed this episode. I will say I was a little bummed that he went down so easy when he went up against Brick. Wildcat in the comics actually trained most of the Justice League how to fight in hand-to-hand combat. That's okay though, this is Arrow's version of Wildcat, and because they're probably not going to be able to use the character a whole lot in other episodes, they wanted a plausible reason as to why he wasn't hanging out with them all the time, so he just got his face punched up real nice, so he's going to be recovering from that. Once you're in the Arrow universe, you're in for good, so he could still come back in a future season. I was so happy to see Bex back though. If you wonder why Sin hasn't been back more often, she was cast on MTV's Scream TV show. They're doing a show based on the Scream movie series. She was actually really important to the episode too. She's going to be the catalyst for Quentin probably figuring out that Laurel is the Black Canary. You guys can let me know if you agree, but I think the only reason that Quentin hasn't figured out that Oliver is the Arrow is because he doesn't want to know. His daughter Sarah and the Canary, that's a whole other story. So more people will probably learn what Laurel's been up to, and Mark Guggenheim also teased that more people would learn Oliver's identity. I think that's going to be Thea. If you're wondering what's happening to Brick now, obviously he's going to get sent to Iron Heights. I don't know that we've seen the last of him because he is like the brother blood of the season, like the person right below the biggest villain of all, Ra's al Ghul. But Vertigo is going to be back in the next episode, so Brick might just go away for a couple episodes. He might just be chilling out in prison for the next couple weeks. Moving on to number 2, Batman Begins Merlin Edition. I can't remember the last time I mentioned it, but the producers said whenever they were creating their version of the Malcolm Merlin character, they envisioned him as an evil Bruce Wayne. Just like Bruce Wayne, he goes to Nanda Parbat to learn to harness his anger and his fear. The wig was kind of weird, all the acting, amazing, 100%, totally on his A game. My favorite moment though was Tiny Nissa giving him the nickname Magician. That's a big departure from the comics. In the comics, he was named Magician just because of his showmanship. I'm totally fine with him changing it. Arrow's version is way better. The funeral scene with Mini Tommy and Mini Oliver, that was also a close second too. That was also a lot of fun. The real point of departure between the Bruce Wayne character and the Malcolm Merlin character though, is that moment in Batman Begins when Ra's al Ghul says, "Kill this thief, he deserves to die for stealing." And Bruce Wayne's like, "I can't do it, I'm not a murderer." They said that in Arrow's version of the timeline, Malcolm Merlin probably did kill that thief. John Barrowman's been really open about where he sees his Merlin character going. He thinks he's on this redemption arc that he's just never going to get to. Like, his life's journey is all about redemption, and he's just never going to get there. That's what all this family stuff is all about. Especially that last scene between Oliver, Merlin, and Thea. Merlin's just like the evil old uncle that invites himself to all the family parties. I feel like Oliver kind of saved Merlin in this episode. Had he killed Brick, I think it would have been the end of his relationship with Thea. She would have found out eventually, and that would have been it. But now that he didn't kill her, they're that much closer. Thea's like, "Oh, thank you, you did this for me." Merlin's like, "No, I did it for me." Like, he's slowly healing that wound inside. Although it's a hole that's never going to be filled. That's what drama's all about. Something is going to push him over the edge again, and he'll go back to being the same old Merlin. One of the big goals every season is to take the group of characters, shake them up a whole bunch, and then by the end of the season, get them back to baseline. Merlin starts out the season being a little sinister, goes through this big crucible, finds a little bit of redemption, new relationship with his daughter. By the end of the season, probably going to be back to the same old tricks. And my number one moment, Oliver tells Merlin in no uncertain terms that he will be training him to fight Ra's al Ghul. Only the student can defeat the master. So that actually works on a number of levels. The minute Katana said that for the first time, she was the first person to say it in the episode. They cut to a scene of Merlin and Thea, so I feel like that means Thea's going to end up fighting Merlin by the end of the season. Oliver's going to be Merlin's student. He's probably going to end up having to fight Merlin by the end of the season too. Merlin was Ra's al Ghul's student, so he'll probably end up fighting Ra's al Ghul. It gets really funny when you think about it in an abstract way. Who's the student? Who's the master? So only the student can defeat the master. So who's going to be defeating who this season? One of the best Easter eggs in the episode, though, was when Oliver walked into Thea's apartment and said, "Sorry I've been away. I ran into an old friend in Bloodhaven, and things got a little crazy." That's probably as close as you'll get to a Nightwing appearance. Nightwing is going to be on the Titan show. I don't think there's going to be any direct crossover between those, so we're probably not going to see Nightwing on Arrow anytime soon. But they can mention Bloodhaven as many times as they want. So everybody cue up the Malcolm Merlin, Oliver Queen training montage. All I could picture after the episode was like that Apollo Creed Rocky scene when they were running on the beach together. I'm just going to wait for that Stephen Amell Facebook video where he puts a giant pair of tube socks and a headband on. Here's my big question for you guys. Let me know what your favorite moment from the episode was, but if the student is the only one capable of defeating the master, does that mean that regardless of whatever training Malcolm gives to Oliver, Malcolm is going to be the one to have to defeat Ra's al Ghul? If Stephen Amell is always posting pictures of himself as Luke Skywalker, does that make Malcolm Merlin Darth Vader? And we all remember how Return of the Jedi went down, so just think about it that way. Fun fact, whenever they were initially planning the Malcolm Merlyn character, they wanted Oliver Queen to be his secret son, but decided it was like way too Star Wars Darth Vader. It was too on the nose, so they made Thea his secret daughter. So originally, Oliver was supposed to be Malcolm's son, at least in the conception, whenever they were first conceiving the series. It's just funny how, like, no matter which TV show you go to, there's always going to be something that seems like Star Wars. So I already talked about most of the big Easter eggs, like the Batman No Man's Land storyline. There's actually some really cool details, though, about the Ray Palmer Adam suit in the episode that we're going to first see that in, so I'll explain that. The first time we're going to see the suit full on is going to be episode 15. That episode is called Nanda Parbat. So presumably we're going to visit Nanda Parbat, whether Team Arrow visits there, or we just get a lot of Ra's al Ghul and Nyssa scenes. I know everyone's wondering if Brandon Routh is going to get his shrinking powers, if they're going to get Adam's shrinking powers. They haven't confirmed yes or no. Originally the answer was no, but since they've opened the door to superpowers on Arrow, I think it's totally possible, especially since they're trying to develop a spin-off. Ray Palmer is actually going to guest star in The Flash episode 18. The title of that episode is All-Star Team Up, so take that as you will. There's going to be some tiny bees in the episode. So if there's going to be like thousands of tiny bees, I feel like that's just a prelude for Adam shrinkage. You guys can let me know what you think about the Adam suit, but I think it'll be a little more interesting once we see it running around on screen. Next week though, Katie Lotz guest starring some red hot Canary on Canary action, thanks in large part to wonderful Vertigo hallucinations. I'll post that video right after the episode airs. Be sure to subscribe to get it. I'm also going to be doing an Arrow Flash Q&A this week after I post my Agent Carter video. That's going to be my next video. Just in case you guys haven't seen it yet, I did a breakdown of the Daredevil Netflix trailer this morning. You can click here to watch that and the trailer, and you can click here for this week's Flash episode. Thank you so much for watching, so let's all high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.